All right, what is up, everybody? Welcome to the Eddy Live Show, episode 330. I'm here with Dave Tacon. How you doing, brother?
Good, thank you.
Thanks for coming, man. I appreciate it. You know, we get to chat a lot, and I kind of wanted to really dive deep into what you were doing. So, yeah, it's very cool stuff that you've got going on, man. Cool projects.
Cheers.
Yeah, man. Appreciate it. So, before we, hopefully our beers come soon. But yeah, before we dive into that, maybe you can talk a little bit about yourself before we go deep. Like, yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm a photojournalist and photographer, journalist. I make documentary films as well. And yeah, I moved to Taiwan a bit more than a year ago.
Okay.
So I'd worked here many times. I'd been based in Shanghai for 10 years. And
okay.
I always liked it here. I mean, it was always a bit of a kind of breath of fresh air when I came here. Just, you know, everything works. So you don't need a VPN, and
that's nice. Yeah.
But yeah, there's a particular visa that was offered, a gold card visa. Okay. And I applied for that and got it. So basically, it's like a green card, and I've based myself here.
Okay.
I mean, as a journalist, it's a great place to be, and it's I mean, Taiwan in itself, but also you're so close to all these other amazing places. So it's yeah, it seemed like a good move.
Okay. So you mentioned you were here before, right? Doing some stories or something, yeah?
Yeah,
okay.
Mostly travel stories. Not only travel stories though, but I did things like cover the Yanshui Beehive Rocket Festival.
Nice.
I did that a couple of times, like one time for CNN Travel, and even stories on beef noodle soup.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's cool, man. I think, and then so you decided, I'm going to kind of put some roots down here. I mean, you've been here for a year, and you're always traveling, right? But what was kind of like what sparked the decision to be like, I'm going to stay here? And you were mentioning it's kind of like a hub to Southeast Asia, I guess.
I had a meeting with Taiwan Plus. So I came here last June, and I pitched a couple of story ideas, and they wanted to do them. So I thought, well, great, okay, I've got a couple of projects, and why not? So, yeah, and during that time, I spent a couple of weeks in this neighborhood, actually.
Okay, yeah.
And
I remember. Yeah.
When you're considering moving to another city, you kind of want to sort of try it on and see what it would feel like to live here. And and I thought, well, yeah, why not?
Okay, that's cool. I think that's great because I think people always mention, you know, Tianmu. It's kind of a little bit far. Well, for Taiwan standards, it's far from town.
It's not really the burbs. So, I mean, like, there's a perception that it is. I mean,
exactly. Yeah.
The baseball stadium is crying out for an MRT, but they voted against it.
They did. That's a crazy one, right? It's funny. People always ask me, and I got to tell them people didn't want it, which is kind of sucks because it would have been great to have an MRT stop here. Because I use the MRT all the time. Every time I'm going downtown, we actually don't have a car. We always I like take MRT or Uber or U-Bike or something, right? So
you have everything you need here apart from a beach. You've got the mountains though.
Exactly, right? So Tianmu's got it's got the movie theater and the restaurants and the baseball stadium and the parks and the mountains and the hikes, right? So pretty much, yeah, we don't leave here very often. It's a good spot to be, man. Yeah. And actually, because I have a daughter, it's great for family. It's great for kids. It's great for dogs. There's the big park over there at about 7 p.m. I believe it's 7 p.m. It kind of turns into an unofficial like dog park.
Yeah,
and everybody with dogs are there.
I'm there quite often because I'm fostering an 8-month-old Formosa mountain dog called Roscoe.
Okay.
Who's back in my apartment at the moment wearing a cone of shame because he's injured his paw, like running around the mountains as mountain dogs do.
Okay, yeah.
And he's been licking it. So
yeah,
I feel very guilty. You know, you put the cone on the dog, it just looks at you like why did you do this? Why did you do this to me? What did I do to deserve this? But well, anyway,
it's kind of funny.
He'll forgive me as soon as I release him from it. And but he'll. I think I've got to keep him away from the dog park and from the mountains for a little bit because while he recovers from his injury.
Yeah. We, coming from Canada, we grew up with dogs all the time, right? But we had front yards and backyards, and you just kind of open the door. The dogs are all playing together, running around. It was good. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, pretty much the same for me growing up in Melbourne. Like we always had dogs. We had like a big front yard and backyard, and I mean, taking the dog for a walk was like more for our benefit than the dogs, because they had plenty of space to run around.
Play all day, anyways. Yeah, it was great. So let's dive in. Let's go back to the beginning a little bit. So you've got, when I went through your through your stuff, it's a lot. It's kind of like, how do I summarize this all down into one interview? But let's go back to the beginning and like tell me about what kind of sparked your interest into, something like this. Be like, I want to do the videography, the photography, the journalism sort of thing.
Well, I mean, the videography sort of happened just because I could see technology developing, and
Gotcha.
it seemed the way to go. Actually, my background is in cinema studies, so
nice.
I studied film, and somehow I ended up in photography. But
Cheers. I don't want to stop your story.
This is a porter, by the way.
Delicious.
Great.
Thank you.
So the videography sort of came later.
But what was the beginning? You were just like, you know what? I want to do this. I want to go take this seriously. Was it a hobby at first, like the whole photography, journalism thing?
Well, yeah, I guess I got the photography bug. Friends encouraged me because they thought my photos were good, and a very weird sort of coincidence. I knew someone who was working for the Truth and Reconciliation Commission in Sierra Leone, and I actually knew him. This is really, bizarre in international connections. I knew him through doing a university exchange to Berlin, but he was from Scotland.
Gotcha.
And he was working with the Truth and Reconciliation Commission in Sierra Leone at the end of the Civil War. And he wanted to do some stories. He'd won this Young Scottish Journalist of the Year award. And so we teamed up, and I flew to Freetown and spent probably about a month. And this is back in, I think, 2004.
Okay.
And I wasn't really prepared. I mean, I actually shot it on film, not digital as well. I shot it on slide film. It's sort of like I knew the digital was coming through, but I kind of really wanted to shoot on slide film and do it in the old school way.
The old school way, I was going to say.
Yeah. I ended up writing a lot of stories through the trip and sort of doing both.
Okay.
And then basically I didn't have a portfolio before I went there, and then I was based in Melbourne then, and most of the magazines were in Sydney, so I had meetings with magazine publishers, art directors, and I had this book of photos, which are photos of Sierra Leone.
Physical book, right?
Yeah, after the Civil War. Right, iPads didn't exist.
Yeah, exactly.
One art director was really just was relieved that someone wasn't walking in with a fashion portfolio, and this is something completely different. And next thing I know, I'm shooting Mark Philippoussis, the tennis pro, for Lexus magazine.
Beautiful. Okay.
And
then that was kind of like you were still green, right? You were still new. You were still kind of learning your craft, and you're filming a pro athlete already, right?
Yeah, and then, you just sort of wing it. I mean, I'd assisted a commercial photographer, David Simmons, for a while, and sort of seen how he worked, and I think it's called acquired learning. Like if you sort of teach yourself until you can come up against you need to seek expert advice. 100%.
I think that's everything. I think that's this podcast, man. That's the podcast. That's this restaurant. That's basically everything. Yeah. Craziness. But keep going.
Yeah. So. I mean, if you're really into something, you'll teach it yourself. I mean, just like learning guitar, right? And that kind of thing. So and then later I was working with a writer friend and working for weekend magazines. And then he also had another job, full-time job, working for a trade magazine, and got a bit busy. And I started writing the stories since I was pitching them, and I realised that it was actually a smart way to work for magazines, especially in Australia, because the editors have more clout than the photo editors, who don't have as much power. Basically, the actual editors or deputy editors, they decide what the stories are, and then if I'm writing it, that I'm shooting it as well, because they knew me as a photographer, and I could basically shoot whatever story was interesting to me.
Okay. So you started kind of like a jack of all kind of thing, right? You're like,
Yeah.
I know a little bit about everything, and then you were kind of leveling up all of the skills at the same time.
Yeah, so that was
very cool.
That was well, it wasn't really planned though, but
Yeah.
it just sort of happened that way. And I'm still writing and shooting now. I often work with journalists and just focus on the photography, which
Okay.
is
Is that your favorite part, or?
I think I prefer just to
Okay.
do that. Although the work that I'm doing for Nature, the science journal, is I mean, I don't mind doing all of it. It's basically profiling scientists.
wow, okay.
Doing interesting jobs in interesting parts of the world.
That's pretty cool. Okay. So what's like how do you get, the idea for a project? Like I asked you somewhat a little bit before, but you come in and you're like, that's newsworthy, or that's something that I want to write about. That's something I care about. So how does that kind of like get you, motivate you to do stories? Like, where does that come from?
It depends who I'm working for. I mean,
Okay.
for instance, the work that I do for Nature. Originally, I was working with a journalist, and I did one on one of the founders of the chip industry in Taiwan. And I think the first one I did was on someone who'd created a quantum computer
wow.
in China, and that was a very difficult one because it was just after the lockdown, and I kind of had to lie down in the back of a van to get into the university. And
Wow, snuck it in. Nice.
yeah,
Nice. Okay.
and then eventually I convinced them that I could write as well. So I was pitching them stories that and I get paid for the words and the pics, which is better.
Okay. Yeah. Of course.
And I did a few of them. So I did it's like space science engineer who designs satellites in Taiwan, and a woman who studies how forests recover after use of agriculture.
Oh, wow, that's cool.
And that was on the east coast of Taiwan. And did a bunch of other ones anyway. And then the editor sent me a list of countries where they'd be interested in profiling scientists.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah.
So-
Sorry, just glitched. You're good. Yeah, it's all good. It's all okay. Okay.
So
Yeah.
I looked at the list and thought, well, where do I know people? And then I went about finding interesting scientists in Laos and Mongolia this year.
Interesting. Okay. And you said that you spent 10 years in Shanghai before
Yeah.
you came here.
Right.
So what was kind of the process of the thought process of being like, let's do 10 years in Shanghai? And obviously Shanghai or China, it's very famous for, the Great Firewall. You were just mentioning VPNs, right? So what was the process of like, okay, tell me a little bit about the China life.
Well, I mean, Shanghai is an amazing city.
Yeah.
And when I first went there, which was, I think 2010, they were gearing up for the World Expo. Also, China was a very different place back then too. We just felt like the center of the world. I mean, it just the change that was happening before your eyes was incredible. As a photographer, it was just incredibly inspiring place to just go out and shoot. It was like,
Okay.
And I also met a whole lot of people who were doing incredibly well.
Okay.
They may have also be talented, but they were doing like stupendously well just because they happened to be in Shanghai.
Okay.
It was
right
a bit
place,
of
right time kind of thing.
Yeah, it was like a
Okay.
boom time kind of thing, and I mean through a little bit of luck as well. Like as soon as I landed in Shanghai, when I decided to move, I did a similar thing. I spent a couple of weeks just sort of wandering the streets,
Nice.
trying on the city. I think it was in October, which is one of the few months in Shanghai where the weather is absolutely perfect.
Okay.
The rest of the time it's
Too hot, too cold.
yeah. I mean,
Got it.
but the weather here I think is probably even more challenging. But
True.
yeah. Anyway, I kind of hit the ground running. I was working for Women's Wear Daily, WWD, which is one of the major fashion industry publications.
Got it.
And just super busy with that. And I was shooting a lot of the enormous events the luxury brands would put on, because back in 2010, China surpassed Japan as the world's biggest luxury market.
Didn't know that. Okay.
So all the luxury brands was like throwing money at China, and it just kept growing and growing. And
Okay.
they'd put on these sort of like kind of crazy circuses. like runway shows, and they'd fly in all these celebrities, and
that's cool.
Yeah, I was shooting all that, so that was just like one thing.
How did you feel? Because that's kind of like different than the nature or the journalism thing. You were like, let's do fashion shows. You're like,
it's still journalism for me. Like, I mean, the fashion industry is fascinating in itself. I mean,
I don't know much about it. Tell me more.
Well, people think like fashion is sort of frivolous, but I mean, the clothes are really important, right? If you look at its historical image, I mean, one of the first ways you're going to know when it was taken is by what people are wearing.
True.
And
nice.
So, and and it was huge money as well. Like one show that I shot for, which Louis Vuitton put on. They transported a replica steam train all the way from Europe, and they had to move trees in this park where they staged the show and put them back the next day because the whole sort of set was too big for the park. It was just nuts.
Wow.
And Lana Del Rey played a live set, and I got to meet Lana Del Rey, kind of. She looks at me and says, "Hey, I'm Lana."
That's enough, right? Yeah, very cool, very cool. Okay. That's beautiful. So Shanghai, 10 years. You're getting your craft, you're making some money, right? Mm-hmm. And when did you won an award in Australia?
Actually, I found out I won the Freelance Journalist of the Year.
Tell me about the awards
on the way to moving to China. I was in Hong Kong at the time, and I didn't even realise that I was nominated. And then people started congratulating me, and it was for.
Tell me about that. That's great. That's so cool.
So that was for a portfolio of stuff. I actually did mostly for Australian Rolling Stone. There was a story on street crime in Port Moresby, which I wrote and shot. There was one on the hip-hop scene in Lebanon, and there was also a story about the biggest rubbish dump in the world, which is outside Jakarta.
Okay.
Where rubbish pickers basically, dodge these earth movers, which just sort of swing around. They knock your head off, and the whole thing is like this mountain of trash, and you can smell it from miles away.
In Jakarta, just outside.
Yeah, but the people are actually making good money, and they're actually. It's funny. On the same trip, I worked for Oxfam, and it was about the cost of living for people making shoes for Adidas, and the people picking rubbish at this dump were making more money than the people making shoes for Adidas.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. I mean, I would guess that they could find valuables or metals or scrap metal and stuff
anything.
Like that.
It was all being harvested, and then they were buying houses back home where they're from.
Oh,
it's hard work, but
sure. Yeah. Well, and I think it's inexpensive, right? In Indonesia, right? I believe. I've never been there. I have a lot of my team, some of my best team members here at the restaurant are from there, and they make they work hard, but they make some pretty good salary, and they'll be like, we just bought a big chunk of land, and I'm like, whoa, what? That's awesome. Yeah, and they're like building a house for their family, and so that's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. Yeah, I'd like to go one day and check it out. Yeah.
Yeah, Jakarta is. I mean. The traffic is, basically the government has sort of thrown up their hands and said, this city's become completely unworkable. We're going to move, build a new city somewhere else.
Yeah, they were telling me about that, which is kind of interesting because let's just move the city. That's kind of crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. I spent a couple of weeks there. I mean, this is something I did sort of on the side because I had another. I had the Oxfam work. Yep. And I was working for a magazine called Monument, which was like a design and architecture magazine. Mm-hmm. And basically I did a story, words and pictures on the creative scene in Jakarta. So they have a lot of talented architects, and Monument back then, it doesn't exist anymore, but it was a pretty well-known magazine. Okay. And for any architect to be featured in it, it was a pretty big deal.
Okay.
People were so welcoming, and it basically gave you this sort of, this key to all these really interesting people. I did the same story in Beirut for that magazine and in Osaka. Okay. Wow.
Are there any stories that stick out for you as like, I really nailed this one, or like something that hits close to home that you feel like, man, this is one that I really enjoyed?
Well, I mean,
there must be many.
Well, this year for sure, like Nadam in Mongolia was something that I'd wanted to shoot for years. Mm-hmm. It had been 11 years from the last trip I'd made to Mongolia, and yeah, I just like totally worked my ass off, and I had fun doing it as well.
Tell me about Mongolia, man. I was saying earlier that a lot of people, not a lot of people have been there, but it's somewhere that sounds cool. You know, the history and the Genghis Khan and the people that I've met, the very few that I've met from there, super friendly and super. So it's on my list. But you were saying that. Yeah, it's cold and it's nice.
Well, it's the coldest capital in the world, but not when I was there.
Okay.
I mean, I was there in summer, and it was just before the holidays, and the whole country kind of stops because they have the Nomad Games, which they've been doing since like the time of Genghis Khan.
That's amazing.
They have wrestling, and also the Emperor of Japan was in town for the wrestling that happens in the stadium.
Okay.
But through my friend Britta, who I actually knew in Shanghai through a story I did for like a German magazine, and we'd stayed in touch, and now she's working for the national like TV network.
Beauty.
Her uncle was running a wrestling camp in the countryside.
Awesome.
And so these guys were wrestling, and also they'd start wrestling anyone who had a son.
Okay.
First, the sons would wrestle with their dads, just like as this sort of, rite of becoming a man.
Okay.
And then
That's
they'd just wrestle in the field with these like referees, and the winners would be given these like would get to wear a hat, and
that's so cool.
It was
entertaining, and then the boys get to wrestling around and stuff. That's cool.
Yeah, it was totally like grassroots. I think that it was why the Emperor of Japan, because like a lot of Mongolian wrestlers have gone on to sumo and been really successful. It's like it's kind of like the purest sort of wrestling.
Okay.
That's only one aspect though. You've got horse racing as well, and archery, and there's another thing like this sort of sheep knuckle game that everyone sort of forgets about. But the three manly games.
Okay.
Wrestling, horse racing, and archery.
Okay.
But for the horse racing, the jockeys are actually children. They're no older than 12.
Okay.
And they race over distances of up to 25 kilometres.
Wow. Wow. Okay.
So most people wait at the finish line where they've got these screens to watch the horse horse but everyone rocks up on horseback in traditional outfits, but often wearing sunglasses.
Okay.
And it's like this really cool look. Of course, I'm not on a horse, and there's all this dust everywhere. They say that the dust kicked up by the horses is lucky dust, so it's good to breathe in all the dust, but you're just completely covered in dust.
Okay, wow, lucky dust. Okay.
And then when the horses finally make the finish line, there's a kind of stampede towards the horses to try to get the sweat of the horse to touch it to your forehead. If you get a handful of sweat, and you can sort of like bless yourself with good luck.
The horse sweat is good luck.
And they even harvest the sweat after.
Really?
They actually get. I don't know what they do with it, but
okay, interesting. I think they actually also eat horse meat, right? Because anytime I watch any documentaries,
I think horses are too valuable. I mean, I had a lot of I had a lot of it's called arak. It's like a horse fermented horse milk.
Oh,
and they have a lot of cheese. I've never eaten and consumed so much unpasteurized dairy in my life.
That's what somebody who went there before, they told me that there's a lot of cheese and a lot of milk and like a lot. And that's one of the staples.
Yak butter, yak cream, and
how is it? Does it taste similar to, or not really better, creamier?
Like arak has it's maybe like 3% alcohol or something. I mean, you grease it if you enter someone's ger like yurt. You kind of have to drink it. You're always warned that this may not agree with you.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And then there's just like various cheeses and donuts. I mean, not a lot grows.
When it's freezing and stuff, right? The climate. Yeah. Okay. Interesting.
So. But I mean, I met this Kazakh family, and they had photos of their parents, and they were eating this diet, and they lived past 80. So there you go.
I think I think it's funny because people, they freak out about diets. Like Eskimos eat pretty much like seal, and like they don't eat, like what we eat, and people are like, oh, it's really bad cholesterol or whatever. But I think I think that what the killer is the process stuff, right? Like I think,
Oh yeah,
like
well,
you're saying,
certainly like in the
definitely
middle
none
of
there.
nowhere, no one's
Yeah.
no one's eating ultra processed food.
No one's eating, Kraft singles or whatever, American sliced cheese or whatever.
Yeah,
right?
they basically
they're eating real stuff.
they have a herd of cows and yaks and I'm not sure where. I wonder how.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I guess they can buy flour through trading or whatever, because they have these sort of donuts. You've got these donuts to dip in like yak butter, like yak cream, which is incredibly rich.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Well, recently Netflix just released. I don't know if you watch it, but this. It's like a they take the best athletes from all the countries kind of in Asia, and it's called Physical Asia, and Mongolia was my favorite team actually in it, because they just seemed like the most real, and it was cool. It was a really good show, and so I think that's been really good for Mongolia, because all my Instagram feed, all my feeds are just full of like Mongolian athletes, and the main guy was a wrestler from what you were saying, something like that.
I met a lot of them. I mean, they're like rock stars there.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
So
very cool.
I mean, if you haven't been to Mongolia and you get the opportunity, absolutely go. I mean,
would love to.
I'd say go in summer and see Nadam as well. The whole country stops basically. I was squeezing in this visit to this, like the most remote mine in the country.
Okay. The picture that you sent, was it that one?
Yeah.
Okay,
and that was just happening before the holidays kicked
there it
in.
is. Check that out. Bam! I got that picture.
So
there,
this
right?
is like 2,600 meters up a mountain on the border with Russia. It's high summer, but the interior of this tunnel is completely frozen, and they think there's 2,200 kilograms, tons or so of silver in that mine.
Silver.
Yeah.
Oh wow! Interesting. That's pretty cool. We got a comment that says, "Oh, tell us how you ended up here." Well, we just talked about that earlier, but
So it's like a 4,000 kilometer round trip, more or less.
Yeah.
So it's about 1,900 kilometers from the capital, Ulaanbaatar. You have to fly to one airport and then drive about 5 hours, mostly over unmade road.
Okay.
And
dirt road, or okay,
yeah.
Not even dirt.
Yeah, dirt road.
Dirt roads, okay.
And then just an amazing.
And you got to travel down, I guess, or not really, or in towards like a mountain, or.
Yeah, you reach the mountains and you sort of have to pass military checkpoints, and it all had to be arranged through this state mining company, Erdnez Mongol.
Okay.
And they've basically recently reopened the site because it was operating for about 20 years, because basically back when the Soviet Union existed, Mongolia was not in the Soviet Union, but kind of like a satellite state. And they had like 500 people working at this mine, and then into the Soviet Union, all the money dried up and everyone left, and then the whole place, it's so remote, it was like inaccessible.
Okay, so it's got like abandoned type thing,
Yeah, so various money has come in to reopen this mine and work out exactly what's there, and they're looking to, make money out of it.
Yeah, of course. Everybody's, Is there a like source of income, like a tourism or anything like that in Mongolia? Like, what's kind of like the biggest?
There's. It's kind of like a mining town, Ulaanbaatar, and I hadn't been there for 11 years, and the last story I did was about basically the mining bust. A nationalist government had been elected, and they'd torn up all these contracts with foreign mining companies, and direct foreign investment had dropped by like 95%. And basically the country was on the brink of bankruptcy, and so they finally inked a deal on a mine called the Oyu Tolgoi, which is run by, I think, Rio Tinto.
Oh, yeah, that's
and
crazy.
It's an ore deposit the size of Manhattan. And then coming back like 11 years later, you can see that money's flown in. I guess flowed in. I mean, there'd be other things as well, but all these Mercedes and Lexus four-wheel drives on the road, the traffic problems, and the new apartment buildings and all that kind of thing. Definitely money had come in. Okay,
that's funny, because my parents immigrated from Mexico to a very small town in BC in Canada, and my dad worked at a place, an aluminum sort of smelting place called Alcan, that a few years after he was working there, got bought out by Rio Tinto. So it's funny that Rio Tinto is everywhere, apparently.
Yeah, I mean, it's Canadian, British, Australian. But
wow.
mining
That's
is but I mean, it's very much a developing country, and I mean, there hasn't really been much of a trickle down to the people who are living in tents on the in the hills of the city. There's about a million of them.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah.
I think Mongolia sounds great, but some of the pictures that you sent me were, I think, from the Philippines, right? You were doing a lot of stories.
Well,
and
I'm going back there soon.
So you're going back, and you're going back soon, right? So tell me a little bit about your stint in the Philippines, and what you're going back to do, and some of the pictures you sent me. I mean, some of them are pretty gruesome, right?
Right. Well, I mean,
tell me about that. Yeah, we'll look at them in a sec. Yeah.
I mean, I told the editor of a German magazine, that I was heading to the Philippines, and I had actually an assignment in Kuwait of all places.
Wow. Okay.
And after that, I was traveling to the Philippines, and I had a trip planned to Iran. If you can believe that.
Nice. Okay.
I've always wanted to go to Iran, and this is my second try.
Probably got to be some good food over there. Yeah. I love that kind of food. Yeah.
And I was going to couch surf, and I had the whole thing arranged.
Beauty.
And I was going to spend like a couple of weeks.
That sounds like a book, couch surfing in Iran, right? Beautiful.
It would have been amazing. And I just would have shot whatever I wanted. I didn't actually have an assignment. But I told this editor that I was going to go to the Philippines, and then, I mean, there's different interpretations of this, but basically it was interpreted that President Duterte of the Philippines had called Obama a son of a whore.
Okay, interesting.
At the same time, they'd been he had basically given permission to police to gun down drug suspects, and they killed thousands of people.
Yes, I heard about that.
And
of course.
That became a big story, especially because of the son of a whore thing. But I mean, he sort of used it as like a goddamn kind of thing. I mean, son of a whore, but whatever. In the same sentence as talking about Obama, he said son of a whore, and then all of a sudden, like, the world's media is it became a huge story, and I cancelled my trip to Iran and did a 10-day assignment for this German magazine Stern.
Okay.
And then I did another assignment for an Australian magazine called The Monthly, and I also worked for the Australian Broadcasting Corporation on the same story.
Nice.
And what it was basically photographing crime scenes where people had been shot in the head with Colt 45s.
Yeah, tell I'll pull up one of the first pictures here, right? What kind of a mindset do you have to be in to go in there? I mean, obviously it's sad, right? How can you be? What's your thought process of let's go in there, let's take some pictures? Are you just kind of numb to it, or you just kind of exclude yourself?
This is towards the I'd been there for a couple of weeks by that stage, and there was supposed to be a big raid that they cancelled because it was raining, and I was sort of looking for a picture, and I saw that there was this picture of Jesus inside the
very Catholic, right?
Yeah. So these were drug suspects, but I mean, something did happen. They kind of seems like the cops executed someone for the press's benefit, because everyone was there. He had his handcuffs in front of him instead of behind him, and they just led us to this crime scene, and
they were like, "That's cool, just shoot away, take your pictures."
They said that the guy went to grab the cop's gun when he was riding on the back of a scooter or something, and we hung around and spoke to people who said no, they just executed him.
Yeah,
and,
of course. Yeah,
that picture was before the other scene. I think this was Tondo, so this was this port area where the streets are dark because people were stealing the lights, the street lights.
Okay, wow, yeah. That reminds me of a story. When I was a kid, when we went to Mexico to visit, we went to one of my uncles, and we were just kind of hanging out, and my family, didn't have very much money. It was kind of like a ghetto-ish area. and which was great. Food was amazing. Actually, we were super safe. It was great. We loved it. And, you know, at one point, I don't know how, but somebody figured out, okay, running out of electricity or whatever. And so my uncle's like, come on, let's go up to the roof. And we went up to the roof, and he had this, like, I don't know, some kind of cable from his house. And he just kind of, like, threw it onto the power line and just, like, leached electricity off the power line.
I think that's a pretty common thing in,
Is it common?
in the Philippines.
I was going to say, that sounds like that. Yeah,
But
that's crazy.
Crazy story about that area that
Yeah.
where the police station was.
Yeah.
That our driver, Boo Boy, told us that to be a leader of a gang in this area, this is just what he told me. So they basically tie two guys together with rope, and there's a knife fight to the death.
Oh,
and that's who
jeez.
becomes the leader of the gang.
Wow.
And
oh my
so,
God.
so
Okay.
you can move through the ranks like after these like
These
fight to
death
the death
battles.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's crazy. Let's get through a couple pictures here. Is another couple ones, yeah. I mean, this is crazy, right? This is like a funeral. Or,
Yeah, so like this guy had been shot, and it was police said that it was like a drug bust, and they
Of course,
like pulled
as
a
they
gun,
do.
and they just basically killed him, and they would have these long funerals where they would be basically trying to raise money by through card games, but basically it's money is meant to go to the family, and it can take days, so they can actually pay for a funeral.
Okay.
Meanwhile, this it's the tropical sun, and they've got to pump this body through full of formaldehyde or something to preserve it.
Whatever it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's crazy, man. I mean, just for anyone who's watching, we got some people watching, so just there's some tough ones here. So we'll just go through these real quick here, because let me pull that out there. Yeah, let me pull this over to the side. That was, and I mean, they were just kind of like.
This is right where we were
shooting away.
staying.
Yeah. Okay.
How did we get to this one? I mean, usually we would. Maybe our news assistant and our fixer sort of told us that this one happened, because also another time when we were covering this, we'd like basically nocturnal.
Yeah.
We'd wait for a report of a killing to appear on Twitter, and then work out how far away it was, and then try to get there before the cops got there.
Wow.
Probably for the second time, because I think it
and
was
it
the
was
cops who were actually killing them.
Yeah.
They had a nice car, and a sign had been left that they were drug dealers. I can remember that the radio in the car was still playing.
Wow. And it's just like this was a common occurrence, just kind of like at
There were
that
two
time.
bodies.
At
There
least,
was one at the other door. They were coming out of
wow.
KTV or something,
Oh my
and
gosh.
then they were shot.
That's crazy.
And yeah, I mean, I'm sure. I mean, all of these crimes, basically, almost all of them are unsolved.
Yeah, heavy corruption, right? So things get buried. Yeah.
Also, there was like a huge, backlog of unsolved killings. I mean, the police were doing them, the police were investigating
Yeah.
them, and
Yeah.
I was actually quite amazed that Duterte is actually now in The Hague, and facing crimes against humanity.
Yeah.
That was a twist that I didn't see coming.
Yeah, definitely. I was surprised with that as well. Yeah.
I mean, at the time when I was there, people were saying that Duterte was basically like a Trojan horse to bring the Marcoses back into power. This is actually back in 2016. That's what people were saying.
Okay.
So he made an alliance which didn't work out all that well for the Dutertes.
Yeah, that's a tough one, man. It's tough when people get into that position. It happens a lot in Mexico as well. There's always like drug wars and stuff like that. Like I have some. Yeah, like for example, the last time I went to Mexico with my wife, we went before we opened this branch. We were looking at some equipment, and we went downtown, and we're going to a what is it called, foreign exchange bank or something, like Casa de Cambio, right? We're gonna go, and then in front of that bank you cannot park. Like it's like you cannot park there. So my uncle dropped us off, and he's like, I'm just gonna circle. And when you're done, just jump in. And I thought, well, I hadn't been there for so long, so I went into the bank, and it was like a maze, and then boom, okay, you get there, you change your money, and then there, security guide kind of walks you kind of halfway to the car, and then my uncle was kind of like, doors open like a getaway car, like jump in, let's go. And I said, it's what's going on? Is it bad? Or, has it got that bad? And he said, well, because if you just change money, then people know you have money. You have cash on you, right? And me being, living in Taiwan for so long, I didn't even think about that. It's just like, oh shoot, yeah, that's true. Crazy.
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, what I understood through working on this story is that those of us who are, lucky to be born like in a place like
Sure.
Canada or Australia, just take personal safety for granted.
Yeah.
And if you just feel unsafe in your daily life, I mean, like our driver, his daughter had a gun pointed on her when she was catching public transport. And then they see that people who are involved in petty crime or drugs, and then crime actually drops by any means necessary. They don't care about human rights or anything like that.
Yeah, it's tough.
Interestingly enough, like as I mentioned, I was in Kuwait before I went to the Philippines to do this story.
Yeah.
There's like a couple of 100,000 Filipinos working there as domestic helpers, and also working in shopping malls and all, or in hotels.
Gotcha.
And I talked to them like, so what do you think about this? Like all like the drug killings? Oh yeah, we think it's really good.
Good.
And
Interesting.
like, yeah, and I say, well, why do you think it's good? And they all said, we feel safer.
Okay. So they feel like killings are a deterrent.
They think that this is the.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's tough. No, I mean for us, because we would go back to Mexico, not quite every summer, but a lot. We would always have that awareness. But then living in Taiwan for half my life now. You just take it for granted.
It's ridiculously safe. I mean,
it's ridiculous, right?
You can walk through the park here in Chienmu like any time of night and
drunk, covered in gold at 3 a.m. and take a nap on the bench. And
you just walk through with a briefcase full of cash, and you wouldn't have a.
People would be like, "Hey, you dropped your briefcase full of cash. Here, just make sure you tuck that in there." Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. Let's go through the other ones that you sent real quick. There, that's that one. That's crazy, man. I can't believe, so when you're taking a picture like this, are you able to just kind of like become numb and just be like, let me get pictures of this? Because that's a tough thing to do.
Yeah, you just kind of go into autopilot, which, but so, I mean, I've been, if you don't look at the dead body, I mean, it follows the rules of composition 2/3, and you sort of do it automatically.
Okay.
The reason why I chose black and white for this series is because otherwise it was too confronting.
Yeah.
That one didn't run in the German magazine that I shot it for, but some of the more grisly pictures ran in the monthly in Australia, because like there's just so much red. The blood is just something that's.
Are these able to like run in a magazine and stuff like this, like a picture like that?
I think that did run in Australia.
Yeah, because you have to. Yeah,
but it wouldn't have run in colour. It ran in
black and white.
In black and white.
Makes sense.
I think it did.
That's tough.
Or maybe the other one. I mean, it's the same scene, but
was it this one? Yeah.
Yeah.
Was that you said that the body on
right?
the other side?
That's got the enough sort of separation.
That's kind of like one side, the other side. It looks.
No,
like,
that might have run in the
same
monthly.
side?
I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Crazy stuff, man. And then this was an interesting one that you sent.
So basically, people had to give themselves up if they were on a drug watch list, which was sort of a barangay captain. Barangays are like villages. Like the head of the village would basically hand in the drug watch list to the cops, and if you're on that list, you're a marked man.
Okay.
And either you could just get out of town, or maybe they'd get you before you got out of town, or you could hand yourself in and join rehab. And these guys are all in rehab, had their head shaved, and they're
so this is like a kind of like a jail sort of a thing.
Yeah, like basically it was even though I photographed people who apparently were like, you never knew. I mean, like there was someone who was
how would you know
who was found dead with with marijuana, but it was mostly meth, shabu, that was that these people would be using. Tricycle taxi drivers, and who had to do long shifts or whatever.
Yeah, it's tough, and you also I mean, obviously, the drugs and all that. That's never a good thing.
No, meth is an incredibly nasty drug.
Yeah. But I mean, like the people that are selling or dealing, that's obviously never a good option. But it's also like it's tough if there's no options for work or for whatever. I would imagine that nobody wants to be the drug dealer. I would think, right?
The scene with the SUV was like that pickup truck was unusual because mostly was people who are at the very bottom of society who are getting whacked.
Yeah. That's crazy stuff. You got that one. I think I got a couple more. And these are the police, right?
Yeah. So this is out.
And they're okay with you photographing them. They're just ignoring you because you're not Filipino.
I mean, Filipinos are very friendly people.
Yeah, I know that.
and very welcoming.
Yeah.
The police did actually change their tactics about when they whisk away the body immediately when they turned up on the scene for like most likely for the second time. I mean, first they
commit it and then
so
they run
it's
off.
just so there wasn't as to try to limit the media coverage.
Yep. Sorry, keep going back there. Yeah, this one. My bad. There you go. Yeah.
Right. So we just sort of walked around the block.
Looks like we got a lot of people walking, and it seems like it's a normal occurrence.
A few years after it, or only a few. Our driver, we always use the same driver. Would when I was in certain areas, I think we were covering the midterm elections and just going out and interviewing people, and he said that these certain areas were much safer than they previously could be. Like he wouldn't think even let me out of the car with cameras. I'd get mugged at gunpoint and.
Was there any kind of experiences like that ever? Because obviously, if you're a photographer, you've got like a nice big camera and you got probably a big lens, and you're kind of in your own world. Was there any instances where people were like, "Hey, give me that camera"?
No, not getting mugged. There was an instance at the beginning of the pandemic in Shanghai when I was just going out taking photos, and the streets were mostly empty, and someone just walked past the shop. I happened to take a photo and just went completely bananas. And it wasn't even a good photo that I would actually. Anyone would publish. And I was so surprised by his crazy reaction.
Wow.
And I didn't want to get into a fist fight over it, and he
sure.
was demanding that I delete it, and I just deleted it.
Sure. That's always the best bet, right? To avoid.
But that was a weird one. I mean, everyone was on edge, and it was a strange time to be in Shanghai, just at the beginning of the pandemic.
Yeah, that time it was. Yeah. I mean, the whole world was kind of like, what are we doing? It's like a bad Hollywood movie, right? Like the whole world is shutting down because everybody's blaming everybody. There's people are developing, chemical warfare, or did somebody eat a bat or whatever? It's just like all these stupid theories popped up, and you're just like, people got crazy, right?
Right, but in a way, being in China during that time was being in the eye of the storm, because they completely locked down the borders. There was still work for luxury brands, because it was the only place where they had live fashion week, because for a while their measures managed to keep the pandemic at bay.
Wow, yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, but in terms of, I mean, I felt unsafe, especially when I was working in Papua New Guinea.
Okay.
But I mean, I'd worked there before doing work for non-government organisations, and I'd fly into these remote areas, and then the time that I'd spend in Port Moresby, I was always told it was too dangerous, don't go outside, and and I started to make inquiries about that, because I wanted to find out what was actually
dangerous. I want to see what it is.
Yeah. Well, I basically
curiosity.
Yeah, I set myself a curfew of 11 a.m. and I could go out and walk around, because usually they call them the rascals, like the gang members. They don't get up until they get up around noon or something. So you can go to these areas, and but just make sure you're back before noon. And then in the meantime, I was working out connections with the local cops to go out with them on patrol. So then I'd have a level of safety, and that's how I covered it.
Okay.
But I'd talk to journalists who were based there when I actually met up with the like Liam Fox and his wife Jessica, like who were the ABC correspondents, and they heard where I was staying, and they said, "No, you can't stay there.
Can't stay there, man.
Like you've got to like move into the like Australian Broadcasting Corporation's villa on the top of the hill, overlooking the yacht club." And when we went out for drinks one night, so I was cool with that.
Yeah, that sounds great. Yeah.
And yeah, like there was a guy who was working for AAP, and he was saying, I was saying what I'd been doing, and he was saying, like, I think you can do that once.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But you have to, you take certain risks and assess it. And
what do you think? What's the process of you thinking like that's worth it? That risk, I want to get that, because reporters are always famous for like diving into like that danger, and like they want that risk is worth the reward. So is there like a limit where you're like, you know what, that one I'm not gonna go? You know what I mean? Like I don't know. I knew a guy that went to do some reporting in the Ukraine. Like he was on the border, and there was like things were exploding with the war, and he was like, "Oh, it was worth it." And I thought, "Damn, that's scary." So was there a point for you where you're just kind of like, you know what, this is too much, I'm not gonna go? Or were you like, I'm a single guy, I'm here, this is what I do, I'm gonna do it?
Not really, but when I covered like a civil war, which is happening again, like on the Thai, in Myanmar, but
I
like
heard about
Burma,
that.
like the whole place is like full of landmines. So that's so you're just sort of nervous about that, but so you don't step off the path.
Okay. Wow, that's scary.
And they're homemade landmines. So basically, they're powered by 9-volt batteries. They're like homemade claymores. The Korean National Liberation Army was sort of like homemade.
Yeah. That's interesting. Okay. Wow.
During the wet season,
do they go off in the rain, or?
They sort of move around. They have to go and sort of put new batteries in them.
Oh wow,
and
that's crazy.
find where they've moved to.
That's too funny, man. Wow. Okay. What about do you have like a list of all the countries you've traveled to? Like, because it sounds like you've been everywhere. Close enough.
Not off the top of my head. I've been to a few.
Yeah. Is there a place where you're like, I love this one, I'm going back there? This was like my favorite spot. Was there a favorite for you somewhere?
Mongolia is amazing. I'd like to spend more time there for sure.
Okay.
I haven't been to South America or even Central America. So
okay. Well, that's next. Yeah. Sounds like you've been everywhere else. Yeah.
I mean, China was amazing. I mean, being able to travel widely in China was an extraordinary opportunity.
They have like a high-speed rail kind of that goes across the country,
built
like
it
super
during the
fast.
time that I was there in 10 years.
Okay.
They would basically build a new entire metro line for Shanghai.
Amazing.
And we're talking like 20 stops. Like every year I was there. I mean, it was...
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. And so now Taiwan, right? So what's the plan? So now you've got you going back to Mongolia. Like, what's the plan for the next?
Hopefully, I'm going back to Mongolia. I mean,
Okay.
I mean, I should be going back to Laos, but
Gotcha.
that's which is the place that I was at before I went to Mongolia, which was like a bit like throwing two darts at a world map. I mean, completely random countries.
Sure. Okay.
But I'll definitely be going back to the Philippines, and I have projects in development and like video documentary projects, and I'm waiting for to sort of proceed.
Okay. So quickly walk me, like, we're almost done here, but quickly walk through the process of, like I mentioned it a couple times, but I'm really curious about, the process of like, here's a story, I want to get it. You find it, you start it, or you pitch it, or how does that work out? Because I think people would be interested in how does it work? Because I mean, I don't know how that works at all. The average person, I think, wouldn't know.
So very recently, a documentary I did with Toby Openshaw, who's been here for like 30 years.
Shout out Toby Openshaw.
An Indigenous topic.
Yeah, beautiful.
Just came out on Taiwan Plus, but I pitched it like in June.
Okay.
It was about a ritual where people atone for wiping out like this race of little dark-skinned, like curly-haired magical people.
Okay.
And
I watched it earlier.
And they have to do it like Well, they do it every 2 years now. They used to do it every year to basically atone for genocide, basically. But if they don't, they'll be cursed and they'll all die. But it's also a way of keeping their language and their culture alive. So in a way that they have to do that is a way to ensure that the Saisiat continue.
And where is that?
This is
town?
in. There's two. So the Saisiat, there's about, I think, maybe 7,000 of them, and they live in Hsinchu and Miaoli.
Oh wow! Okay,
And
I never
the
even
crazy-
heard of that.
the
'Cause
crazy
my
thing-
wife's from Miaoli.
Okay, well, the crazy thing is like about 250 similar stories, like myths
Okay.
about these magical little people. Even the Maoris have them.
Okay, yeah.
And in Hawaii, and but they discovered a skull, and it's the only evidence that maybe these little people really existed. They
Okay.
did some tests on this skull that they found in a cave down south in Taiwan, in
Okay.
Taitung.
Wow.
And then we interviewed one of the elders, and he said, we don't give a damn about what you archaeologists are studying. Like, this is our myth and it's ours, and it doesn't matter if it's
Whether you prove it or disprove it, we're doing our thing. Okay,
we're going to keep doing it.
gotcha.
So yeah, it was like a really fascinating story. But anyway, I'd already pitched it, and so yeah, you have a meeting with their production team, and then I presented a treatment, and then we had a contract, and then and then did it.
Okay,
It doesn't always work like that. This is,
Okay.
but yeah.
nice. And the story for you, where you were like, this is a story that needs to be told. I want to do it. You pitch it. They're like, let's do it, and that's it.
Yeah, I actually did it in tandem as a magazine article for
Okay.
Australian magazine called The Monthly, because I was working with my colleague Margaret Simons on another Indigenous story, actually
Got it.
For foreign policy, the US magazine, and The Monthly on Indigenous issues in Taiwan, which are basically used by the current ruling government is kind of credentials of the sort of Taiwanese identity, basically.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And what the Indigenous communities think about that. But anyway, but on Toby was he's very passionate about Indigenous issues, and he was
I've seen
driving
that,
us
yeah.
in his VW transporter van. I think it's a transporter, down to this harvest festival, and he told this story about how the Saisiat tribe had wiped out they call
Wow.
themselves this race of different people, because
Okay.
they'd been harassing the women, and they sabotaged a tree where they'd go and sing and dance, and then the last remaining little people were swept away into a river. Actually,
jeez,
apart from
okay.
two survivors who came back and after everything went bad and told the Saisiat, a curse has been put on you because you killed all our people.
Okay,
And
that's
they do
tough.
it every 2 years, and it was happening a year after our visit, and we looked at each other Margaret and I, and wow, what a story! We got
Yeah.
to come back here and do it.
Gotta do it.
But
okay.
at that stage, I didn't anticipate it. I would have actually moved to Taiwan. But anyway,
Okay. Wow, that's cool.
so
Very
you
cool.
can see it. It's on Taiwan Plus. It's just online now. It's Seeking the Cocoa Ta'ai.
Okay.
It's a documentary on Taiwan Plus.
I will actually put a link in the description
Little
below
plug.
so people can go check it out. Yeah, that's very cool. We're coming up on an hour, man. Time flies when we do this. But so let's go back to the beginning. You're going to Berlin. You're green. If you could go back and tell your old self, your younger self, some advice, what would you give what advice would you give?
Learn Mandarin.
Okay, yeah. Learn Mandarin. That's right. Yeah. Shanghai, right? I guess it's useful for Shanghai as well, right? Apparently. Okay,
Yes, for sure.
Very useful in Shanghai. Okay. Do you have anything you want to say before we call it, man? Or
No.
you want to add that there's something we didn't touch on? Or
No, I don't think so. I mean, as well as doing all this journalistic work, I mean, I've also worked as a commercial photographer and
okay. So how
I
can
mean,
people find you? How can people hire you to be a commercial? I've got your Instagram below. What else can people? I got your website I posted below as well. So what else can people do if they want to hire you for photography or video or something like that? How can they find you?
Well, my main photography website is davetacon.photography.com. I also have Dave Tacon photography. No, I also have davetacon.com.
Yep.
And the reason why I have two websites is because VPNs, and I was based in China, and some people in China couldn't access a website. But
really?
But anyway,
okay.
I mean, yeah, I mean, basically, I've shifted to doing these longer, bigger documentary projects because I just looked at the landscape here and just thought,
yeah,
I can't move here and do the same kind of advertising and commercial work that just doesn't exist.
It's a different place, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, in order for me to move here, I'll be transitioning into working more as a documentary filmmaker,
nice.
as well as my other work. And so far,
that sounds
good. It's going to plan. But I miss like working.
You miss Fashion Week.
Yeah, I miss being like a busy
week,
commercial photographer. I'm still at heart. I'm a photographer. Yeah.
Fashion Week sounds good. I mean, I would imagine, models running around. I saw some of the pictures. That's got to be pretty fun. Beautiful women running around.
Another
fancy
project
clothes.
which should be coming out soon is on Jen Lee, who's one of the top fashion designers here.
Okay, beauty.
I mean, I was always really interested in seeing how like a new collection sort of for a fashion designer, just like how does it come from basically not existing to being presented with the models on the runway at Fashion Week? So I followed the whole process of the 10th collection of Jen Lee. And 16 hours of footage, and with my friend Joe, who you met, who is,
yes, he was just here.
is working on it, and it's interesting to see what will come of it.
Beautiful, man. Awesome. I want to get you some dinner here, but thank you guys for watching the podcast, man. Thank you for coming.
Having me, Eddie.
My pleasure. So maybe we can do another one in the future. It was super interesting.
Sounds good.
The podcast, one of my favorite things is I get to learn new stuff. Like I knew you, not super well, but I knew that you were doing some cool stuff, but I didn't know until I dove in today thinking, wow, very cool.
Well, thank you.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you guys for watching, and we will catch you guys next week. Bye-bye.
Thank you everybody for watching Eddy's show. We feel only happiness, don't feel any sorrow. Welcome everybody to watch more on his content. Eddy Live Podcast. Eddy Live Podcast.